we've been talking about super resolution Howler, and the two problems we're trying to solve is keeping sharp edges that don't stair step and enlarging while adding new details instead of just blowing up existing details. And those are they can be complicated problems to solve. One possible solution is maintaining a library of millions of patches. Say you have an eyeball in one patch and you have an ear in another patch, that kind of thing. And you'd have to have just millions and millions of these random patches from, like, countless source images. You break them up into a bunch of pieces and then you reconstruct your image using those patches. And that is being used somewhat successfully out there, but that does require a lot of storage space, a lot of processing time. As we said, we're an offline tool. We work on the local machine. We're not going to try to fill up your computer with a huge database of little bits and pieces of imagery or anything like that. So what we've done is we've used what we have available to us, which is the current local image. One benefit of that is if we break this up into little patches, all these little patches are going to have a better chance of being similar to the image you're trying to reconstruct because it's coming from that image. Even though we're blowing it up, because of the fractal nature of images like this, it's still going to have some similarity. So that is basically the approach we took. And now, as you can see, we're getting reasonably good results out of this. There are, more successful things. We can't just create an all new eyeball. We can't find one. We have to reconstruct one out of what's available. So there might be some areas where the patches don't match up perfectly, that kind of thing. It works better with nature than it does necessarily with, like, buildings or something like that. But it is a valid way to work, and with anything, it's a work in progress. There's always something more you can do with it. It's not a perfect technology. It's not something that's been refined for hundreds of years. It's a new idea. It's something that's just happening in the last few years. So that said, let's take a look at how this works in Howler, and we'll try to do a few projects. So let's say we have a source image. This one will do nicely. I think this came from pexel.com. And say we're only interested in a little bit of this, so I'll clip out a piece here. And say we just want a bigger version of that. So let me start from scratch with what we've got. I'm going to store a copy of this, and I will quickly use the analytical upscale. We have a couple of options here. The search distance. Now we could search the whole image if we wanted to, but that would take a long time. So we limit it to actually areas around so many pixels around the block that we're currently working on. That generally works out pretty well. The distance is given in pixels. A larger distance will give more possible chances at a positive match or a very close match, but it will take quite a bit longer, so we tend to keep it around 30. There's the block size. I think larger blocks tend to work, but they may take a little bit more time. The option of patch or pixel level. Pixel level will give you smoother borders without oddities, but you might get some chromatic aberration, and it will take longer. You also have the option of expanding 2 times or 4 times. I'm for this, it's tiny. I'm just gonna expand 4 times. Hit OK, and let it go, and it just progressively works on that. Okay, so there you go. Let me store a copy of that, and just for comparison, I will go to the swap image and scale this up using traditional scaling, using just bilinear. You can see it does look a little more natural, more photographic looking, because even though it's blurry, it's just a kind of a literal representation of what the image is. Nothing's really been done to it. But if we go to the the interpolated, the super resolution version, you can tell it's a lot sharper looking. There are some oddities. We are adding new details. And new details aren't necessarily a perfect representation of what we're trying to reconstruct, because we don't know what that is. But we're taking our best guess with what pieces we have available. So as said, it will work better for some things than others, but you can see the lines are much sharper. There is a lot more detail being added in there. Going back to the blurry version, you can see it's just blurry. But here it's very sharp looking. It's getting a little bit stylized looking, to be honest, but it is nonetheless. Maybe that could be useful, a useful style. It just depends on what you're working on. So that being said, that is super resolution in Howler, a tool in progress. It is at least somewhat similar in functionality to our new noise removal tool called non-local noise removal. They both work by block matching and finding very similar matches. But in the case of noise removal, we're removing noise, trying to resolve an image by removing noise. And in the case of supersampling, we're trying to remove the unwanted pieces, the unwanted blurry image, and resolve a clear and high definition, high fidelity image using sort of the same process. So hope that's been not too confusing. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask, because there's a lot that can be said about this. And that's about it. Thanks for watching, and talk to you later.